Good morning, everyone. Welcome to all of council assembled here in the quorum room. Welcome to Municipality of Jasper administrative staff and to those people in the gallery who have joined us today. Welcome to those who are watching on our Zoom platform and those who will later watch on our YouTube channel. I will call this morning's meeting to order for February 17th, 2026. Today is Random Acts of Kindness Day, so be alert for every opportunity to perform some random act of kindness for someone. Today is also World Human Spirit Day, a day essentially of self-empowerment. So keep that in mind as well. We are on our first day of new technology today. We have new cameras and a new audio system for the quorum room. In a small way, I think that it will enhance openness, transparency, and accountability. No one on this side of the table certainly can hide from their comments or their facial expressions when things happen. I would just remind councillors that the microphones are very sensitive. So even though your mic might be off, your neighbors might pick up a hot mic moment, and we don't need to extend the Mark Kennedy kerfuffle at the Olympics in this setting. So bear that in mind. I will move to agenda item 2 on our agenda today, approval of agenda. Councillors, you have today's proposed agenda. Are there any additions, deletions, or other changes required to be made to the agenda? I see no hands signifying anything. I would look for a motion to approve today's agenda as presented. Councillor Melnick, thank you very much. All those in favor? There are none opposed. That is carried. We have 2 sets of minutes for approval today, beginning with the minutes of the regular meeting of February 3rd, 2026. Are there any errors, omissions, or corrections required to be made to those minutes? Seeing nothing, I would look for a motion to approve the minutes of the February 3rd, 2026 regular council meeting as presented. Deputy Mayor Waxer, thank you. All those in favor? There are none opposed. That is carried. We also have before us the minutes of the Committee of the Whole meeting of February 10th, 2026. Are there any errors, omissions, or corrections required to be made to those minutes? Seeing nothing, I would look for a motion to approve the minutes of the February 10, 2026 Committee of the Whole meeting as presented. Councillor Frechette, thank you. All those in favor? There are none opposed. That is carried. That takes us to agenda item 4, delegations. This is the place on our agenda where we will hear from people in the gallery who wish to speak to any matter on our agenda. And again, I would invite anybody forward that wishes to do so, reminding them that with the new technology, they now will be captured and part of the video recording, which will remain forever, perhaps. In any event, I see no one coming forward to take the mic and speak as a delegation to any matter on the agenda. So I will move to agenda item 5, correspondence. 5.1, we have the RCMP quarterly report. Do we have Sergeant Badesi joining us in any fashion? We do not. All right, that report is available. Are there any questions by councillors with respect to the report, which is included in the agenda package? Councillor Melnick.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to comment on the report and the accompanying letter describing the changes to RCMP services in the province and some significant changes of how policing is changing and what the RCMP is doing to enhance RCMP policing in not just the province but in our region as well. And we have the statistics here, but I found that the letter from the Deputy Commissioner or Commanding Officer for Alberta provided a lot of information that I don't think the public knows. And I'm hoping that this will get highlighted. I am really happy with Sergeant Bedadi's report about his involvement in the community and the RCMP involvement. And I just wanted to highlight that because I think we're really fortunate with the detachment here and the leadership by our RCMP officers.
Thank you for that, Councillor Meldick. Any other comments or questions with respect to the report? Deputy Mayor Waxer.
Thank you, Mayor Ireland. I thought I would just comment that in the letter from the person in charge of Alberta, he references that addiction to illicit drugs is a huge driver of the types of crime that victimize Albertans. And I just thought I would take this opportunity to, and to that end, they've put lots of effort into mitigating that. And I thought it was important to just reference the fact that in Alberta, as the budget is coming up, that it's important to remember the prevention work that FCSS does and that the importance of that, because addiction to illicit drugs is less likely in a person growing up in a healthy community.
Thank you for that, Deputy Mayor Waxer. Any other comments or questions with respect to the report? I have two questions, and Director Nadam, perhaps you could pass these on to Sergeant Bedasi just for a response at some later time. In his portion of the report, he makes reference to policing a shadow population correlated to our vibrant tourism destination. And I'm just curious as to what, from an RCMP perspective, is the shadow population that they're policing? Does that include visitors at nearby campgrounds, for example? And related to that, then, I'm curious to know what portion of the policing that they provide actually deals with the 5,000 residents, and what proportion might be related to, in a busy summer weekend, 20,000 visitors, and whether there are other bodies contributing. As our policing costs continue to rise, are we in fact paying for policing for something far greater than our local population? That is one rambling question, but you will get the gist of it. The second part of that question, in the same paragraph where he speaks about shadow population, he indicates that they will be on track to surpass our fiscal year-end goals. And I'm curious what fiscal goals the RCMP might have. I don't know what that means. Does it just mean meeting budget targets, or does it mean revenue targets? I don't know what fiscal year-end goals might mean for an RCMP detachment. So if you could pass that along, I would appreciate it. If there are no other questions with respect to the RCMP quarterly report, I would look for a motion that Council receive that report for information. Deputy Mayor Waxer, thank you. All those in favor? There are none opposed. That is carried. that takes us to agenda item 5.2, a letter received from the president of the Jasper Park Chamber of Commerce, which is on our agenda, with, I believe, 2 requests, if I can bring it up. And I invite comments from councillors with respect to those requests. Councillor Roger.
Thank you, Mayor Ireland. And I have a comment regarding the transit, and it's regarding discussions I've had with Mr. Given. And my understanding is that we need the grant funding to be amended, and there's a letter sitting on a desk somewhere, presumably in Ottawa, for a minister to respond to, and he's not doing that. And it was suggested by Mr. Given that perhaps this has to get political, that perhaps the mayor has to get involved as a politician to perhaps prod them along. And I'm just wondering if perhaps we can discuss that and if there's any steps that we should take. I don't know how long the letter has been sitting there, Mr. Given. Has it been a month or so now, would you say?
Mr. Given.
Thanks, Maryland. So I would suggest that the best way to go forward would be before taking anything formal at the council table. I think there's sort of a subtle escalation. We start with an administrative inquiry, which we made prior to in the fall, actually prior to the election, and so it has been with the department for quite a while. We've had some conversations with them, and we actually, as of this morning, have received an inquiry from them just with asking for further details. So I think it's actually moving along a little bit more. So my advice would be before council takes any formal action at the council table, would just be to play that out, see where it goes, and then maybe it's something a bit more informal at the political level, which might be a touch base or a reach out from the mayor to the minister responsible. And then the final escalation would be, if we still don't have any satisfaction at that point or any clarity, then something maybe more formal to council making a resolution. But as of this morning, I actually received an email from the department requesting further information. So that's, I think, a good sign.
Thank you for that, Mr. Given. Any other questions or comments with respect to the letter? Go ahead, Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mayor Ireland. My question is for administration. As far as the first week request from the chamber, are we able to provide detailed income? I know on our website we have a 2024 graphic that has shows operating expenses, and that would be great if that would be updated. There is a lot of confusion in the community about this funding, and I mean, I can't imagine it's not transparent. It's all there. I'm just wondering when we can get that information or when that graphic can be updated.
Go ahead, Mr. Given.
Thanks, Mayor Ireland. So 2 different thoughts. First, there is a graphic along with sort of background information from previous years. Administration can update that. We probably would just replace it with the graphic that was presented at the year-end update on transit, the 2025 update. Director Donaldson and her team put together a graphic that shows essentially the same information in a different way, and we can update that. I think what the chamber is asking for probably wouldn't be satisfied by a graphic. We presented a report at Committee of the Whole that had images and had numbers, but the request in the letter is fairly specific, a detailed income and expense statement for the transit program. So again, I don't think a graphic would necessarily do it. The chamber's request probably should follow the municipality's typical process where we have a third-party financial audit and where we complete our year-end. We still receive some bills and finalize some payments into the new year. And so finance administration is closing off that process now. Then it's reviewed by our third-party independent auditors. which build the overall financial statements for the municipality. That's done, as council knows, a little bit later this spring. And at that time, we'd have the final numbers for the entire organization, including transit. And if council wanted to direct administration to bring forward detailed information at the close of the year end on any particular service, absolutely we could do that.
Thank you, CEO Given. Councillor Hall, did you have any follow-up, or you're satisfied with that response?
Thank you for that, CAO Given. Where the funding comes from is transparent to me. It's clear to me, but I can appreciate that it might not be transparent to residents. But all I want to say is that transparency should not be confused with the potential disagreement over the policy choices, because this was a policy choice that we made to apply visitor paid parking money to transit. So yeah, so I appreciate the response. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Are there any other questions or comments arising from the letter from the Jasper Park Chamber of Commerce? So I would take it then, based on your earlier comments, CAO, given that when the final numbers are in for 2025, we will get our year-end annual report, as we always do. And if council at that point is interested in requesting further detail regarding any of our operations, including transit, we can make that request when those numbers are available. And I would suggest to council we can then consider the second part of the question, or the second question from the Chamber of Commerce. But it might be premature to do that now when we don't yet have the information. But from your perspective, that's where we stand, Mr. Given.
That's correct, Mayor Ireland.
Thank you for that. Councillor Roger.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I didn't catch when that's going to happen. Was there a time frame? Because I think that they're waiting for information, and if it's going to be a while, we should be at least responding and tell them when the information is going to be provided.
Mr. Given.
Thanks, Mayor Ireland. So Director Malinchuk would be in a better position to speak to the specific dates around the audited financial statements. But the process happens every year. We post our audited financial statements to the municipality's website. The process is typically complete in April or May of the year. As I said, we're still finalizing invoices. We have some contractors that haven't submitted final invoices, or some that overlap with the year end. And then the auditor has that process of going through. I do see Director Malinchuk is available on screen, and so she can maybe provide a little bit more specificity.
Thank you for that. And Director Malinchuk, if you're there and wish to clarify on this point, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Yes, so the audited financial statements are due to the province May 1st. So we will be bringing it to council just prior to that for council motion to accept them. And then we'll have everything finalized once we have them to the province.
Thank you, Director Malinchuk. Councillor Roger.
Thank you, Mayor. Just as a follow-up, is there going to be a letter sent to the chamber telling that to them?
Sorry, Mr. Given.
Mayor Ireland, for Councillor Rogers. So the letter is specifically addressed to Mayor and Council. It's here as an item of correspondence. And so it's really up to Council to decide how you wish to deal with it. They've asked for two specific things, and Council can decide, here in this form, how you want to respond. Administration wouldn't respond on behalf of Council unless we're given direction to.
Thank you for that, CAO Given. So again, I turn it back to any councillor who wishes to raise any point, raise any question, or make any comment. Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mayor Ireland. Last term, we made the decision as a council that the deputy mayor would respond to letters that were received. We found there were a few that were missed in the beginning of the term, and that maybe is something we could talk about this week at strategic priority planning session.
If it is the will of council, I am certainly happy to respond to this letter myself from the chamber and just acknowledge receipt, and that we will respond further when we have the detailed information, if that's an appropriate course of action. And I don't necessarily require a motion, but if there is any objection, let's deal with it now. And otherwise, that would be my plan, just to respond and say that the information will be forthcoming. It'll be available to the chamber as it will be available to our residents. It's just publicly available, which is our requirement. Deputy Mayor Waxer.
Thank you, Mayor Ireland. I just wanted to indicate that I had responded initially, that confirming receipt, but and I would be happy also to follow up, but I think it may be best to come in from the mayor.
All right, again, I will respond in line with the discussions that we've had here today, unless there is any objection. Is that suitable to councillors? All right, I see no objection, so we can move forward, but I would look for a motion that council receive the correspondence from the Jasper Park Chamber of Commerce as information, or for information. Deputy Mayor Waxer, thank you for that motion. All those in favor? There are none opposed. That is carried. That takes us to agenda item 6, new business, and we begin with the Jasper Recovery Coordination Center progress update. And this morning we have with us Mr. Olfhaus. Thank you for appearing on screen and with the new device, and I will mute and you can come aboard.
Thank you, and good morning, Mayor Ireland and Council. As has been noted, I am here in place of Director Fark this morning to present the JRCC update, which I will begin in just a moment. And of course, I'll be happy to take any questions after the presentation is complete. Thank you very much, Emma. Great. Okay, so first a couple of notes before we get into the various priority areas of recovery. The first being that beginning next month, JRCC will be switching to a monthly schedule of reporting to Council. This reflects that we have moved out of the acute phase of recovery, and so our reporting schedule will be adjusted to reflect the period of recovery that we now find ourselves in, and will be coming to Council half as frequently, coming once per month. Second note is that Associated Engineering has produced a report on fire-related infrastructure damage affecting water and sanitary services. These findings have been presented to DRP, to the province, and work is ongoing with WSP to develop a required scope of work to address those damages and to create tender packages in order to inform funding requirements for that work. Moving now to the various priority areas of recovery. 393 debris removal permits have been issued, and of those, 372 certificates of completion have been issued by Parks Canada. That represents 95% completion of those on the permits issued. For in-town non-commercial certificates, 335 of 341 have received certificates of completion. That reflects approximately 98% completion. There are currently no properties undergoing additional soil remediation work in Jasper. As you can see in this graphic, just reflecting again, overwhelmingly debris removal operations have been completed with just a few sites or a few properties in the process of submitting or reviewing confirmatory sampling reports, and one property in the town site with debris removal operations still to proceed. With respect to interim housing, no great changes in occupancy levels. We still have 355 households representing 677 individuals in the program. We're expecting occupancy on the Patricia Circle site to begin this week, with move-ins to follow quickly thereafter. And on the United Church site, we're expecting occupancy to be granted in early March, again with move-ins to follow very quickly thereafter. All of those units have been assigned, and we've been in contact with the households and individuals that will be occupying those units. We have now processed over 1,000 interim housing applications, and we continue to receive a substantial number of new applications. That reception of applications has increased in recent weeks for a number of reasons, including decisions by CN Rail to locate more on a longer-term basis in Jasper, and a number of individuals who found medium-term housing solutions for themselves following the fire, now finding themselves in need of new housing options. This graphic represents the supply of units and the availability of units at the present moment. You'll notice the number 78 units available. That reflects that there are a number of units available in the Marmot Meadows dormitory units that are available on a short-term basis. Those are units that are earmarked for use by Parks Canada for staff accommodation in the summer. So they're available now, but won't be available in the summer months. Again, another graphic representation of availability of units across the major sites, being the dorm units, the other Marmot Meadows sites, and the town site. With respect to the rebuilding of homes and businesses, on March 9th of this year, changes to the Jasper land use policy came into effect that will allow for more housing options, for increasing the number of homes that can be rebuilt, and to simplify policies in that area. There is also work undergoing from Parks Canada to make changes to Marmot Pit to facilitate community needs with respect to rebuild. An interesting note when we have a look at this graphic that represents the stages of various households and leaseholders in the community in terms of their rebuild. The purple block there represents leaseholders who have yet to progress into the development and building permit stage of rebuild. The interesting thing to note here is that we are at exactly 50%. So 50% of the households in this graphic have progressed, are either in the stage of applying for permits, development or building permits, or are in active construction, or have achieved occupancy. Of that 187, the JRCC is now working on multiple fronts to delve into the challenges facing those individuals more deeply, working with partners to get a better sense of what those challenges are and to offer additional support to help people move through that process. With respect to construction coordination, on the 4th of February this year, the JRCC hosted a builders workshop with industry professionals, utility providers, Parks Canada, and municipal staff. It was very well received. We continue to see a minimum of compliance issues in reconstruction activities, and the Jasper Rebuilding Jasper Industry Bulletin, which has been going out, has been well received again by the building industry. In social recovery, we have added to the Pathfinders website Find a Pathfinder tool that allows for individuals who are looking for support in the community to contact and connect with a Pathfinder. We're also currently planning a Pathfinder Summit for February 24th to bring together all of those who have graduated from the program, those who support the program. I believe invitations have gone out to council as well. And we are working presently with the Red Cross on the analysis of our second social needs assessment process. That initial analysis is complete, and we'll be preparing a report for council in the coming weeks. In economic recovery, we are currently undergoing a review of the municipality's business licensing and business registry system. That's beginning with a review of current practices with the intention of refining and improving that system going forward. I would also note that the interim industrial park continues to function and is being managed with site operation management from the JRCC. The pop-up village is preparing for its second full summer of operation, which will begin fully in May of this year. There are still sites available for eligible businesses, that is, businesses who lost commercial space as a result of the wildfire. And we have launched a business recovery bulletin, which is a new tool to share business-focused recovery updates from the JRCC. And that will conclude a high-level overview of the JRCC update. And as I said, I'm very happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you for that report, Mr. Olfhaus. I just wanted to make one correction for the record. It is clear in the written report that the change in policy occurred on February 9th of this year. When you were speaking, you said March 9th. But we're all agreed that it is in the past, not the future, that did happen.
I stand corrected. Thank you.
Thank you. And I then open it to questions from councillors. Councillor Roger?
Thank you, Mayor Ireland, through to Mr. Althouse. Perhaps Mr. Fark had told us this before, but could you remind us when you expect the some of the mobile dwellings to be dismantled and taken away?
Through you, Mayor Ireland, to Councillor Roger. At present, Parks Canada has confirmed funding for the interim housing program through to the end of March 2027. There is work undergoing to find additional funding to extend the period of the interim housing program. So there is no firm date at present for the demobilization of interim housing. Again, work is underway to establish additional funding and extend the term of the program.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you both. Any other questions for Mr. Althouse while he's here? Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mayor Ireland. A comment, then a question to Mr. Olthoff. 50% is though it may seem like it's not a lot, I think it is a lot compared to other communities that have gone through this, and I think is a testament to the hard work of the JRCC and the collaboration between the parks and municipality. My question is around the pop-up village. How many businesses are returning? I wonder if you know that.
Through you, Mayor Ireland, to Councillor Hall. Unfortunately, I don't have the exact figure on hand. As usual, when I don't have those figures, I'm very happy to have them forwarded to Council at the earliest convenience.
Thank you for that. Any other questions? It appears not. I would look for a motion then to receive the report for information. Councillor Melnick, thank you for that motion. All those in favor? There are none opposed. That is carried. And thank you for delivering that progress update report, Mr. Althoff. That takes us to agenda item 6.2. We have a director's report from Finance and Administration, and we saw earlier that Director Malinchuk is joining us on our Zoom platform, so I would turn it over to Director Malinchuk. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good morning to you and Council. I'll just give a quick summary of the report. For the IT side of things, we have been working on Windows 10 workstations. So any that are remaining are being phased out. There's still work being done with the permitting portal for urban design and standards. And there was installed payroll year-end updates, which also takes a long time to complete and often some overtime. There is a new email security and threat detection service to enhance protection against malicious emails. IT also supported operations in their renovation process and supported a virtual machine for Bylaw software and provided installation and configuration assistance, as well as assisted with the quorum room audiovisual installation that that we're all seeing today. When it comes down to budget and planning, myself as well as the finance manager are working on grant applications. The 2026 budget have been uploaded into our financial software for everyone to be able to use now internally. And we have already had our interim audit that occurred in January of 2026. And as Mr. Given alluded to, we're now working through for year end. The final audit is to be concluded during the March 30th to April 2nd week. Well, not concluded, work's done, excessive work's done, and then follow-up work is done then in April to have things completed by the end of April. And good news scenario for our 2025 budget, our parking budget revenue was actually met for 2025. We are currently working on the process of hiring a full-time continuous accounts payable position. When it comes down to utilities and taxes, the supplementary taxes were mailed out on December 3rd. This included 13 homes that were occupied in November and December. Penalties were applied to late tax payments, January 1st of 2026 at 18% as per the bylaw. Arrears letters have been sent out to properties in arrears for 2024 or before. So there was 13 letters sent out this year. And property assessment notices were sent out last week, February 13th. Utility bills for November 1st and 31st, November 1st to December 31st were sent out after the third reading of the 2026 utility bylaw with notice of the rate changes. So those should have been received by the users. And currently there's a search for new metering company. This is being done by the operations department. Once this is secured, new meters will be installed into new homes. For insurance-wise, insurance renewals are complete for the year, including all additional named insurance, and we have 13 of those. On the business license and invoicing side of things, there's been regulatory reporting to JRCC and Parks Canada on business licensing, and continued collaboration with urban development team, working on street and public use permits, offsite levy fees, demolition deposits, reconciliation of partnerships with accounts receivable. In payable side of things, we're wrapping up 2025 year still, so 2025 invoices are continuing to be processed. We're hoping to finish that by the end of February. On the side of Jasper, the wildfire response, meetings with HARP, or previously known as DRP, are still occurring monthly. We received the final evacuation center invoice from 2024. However, as a note, that was accrued in the 2024 statements, so we just apply that back. And we have reconciled approximately 30 million expenses to date. Mr. Olthoff already spoke to the high volume of resident inquiries to related recovery housing. And we have received our second advance from HARP now. That was received at the end of December at approximately $5 million. Otherwise, on the finance side, we always remind people and encourage people to enroll for pre-authorized payment plans to ensure that payments occur monthly and that no penalties are occurring on your accounts. And as an advice, as part of the advice slip that went out on the assessments, there's also an information about the annual assessor open house session. This is where, if there are any questions about your assessment, people can come in and meet with the assessor directly. And this is in the boardroom of the Activity Center. It'll occur on April 9th from 12 to 2 and 4 to 6. This is first come, first serve process. So if you would like to receive your spot, just come in early. And the assessment complaint deadline for this year is April 22nd of 2026. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions should there be any. Thank you.
Thank you for that report, Director Melanchuk. Are there questions regarding the Finance and Administration Director's report? Councillor Melnick.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a few questions. The first one being about the metering company. What transpired that we're needing to look for a new company for, I'm assuming water metering? And will that new company be used for other changes in meters throughout the community after the new homes are built?
Your worship, through to Councillor Melnick. This was prompted by the operations department, so I can't say that I can answer fully on the request for proposals on the new metering company, but I know with policy we do set things out for procurement often so that we keep things competitive. And yes, you are correct on the sense of when it comes down to the meters within the community, at some point they will all be replaced and be consistent to each other so that they're all in line with each other. So not just the new homes, but we'll be replacing the other ones for residential as well as for commercial as well.
Thank you for that. I also, you mentioned the assessments being mailed out. We've had the opportunity for our assessor, Troy Bertels, to present to council, I think prior to when he's here for meeting with the public. Is that anticipated that will happen again?
Yes, Your Worship, through to Councillor Melnick. Yes, he will present to council again. I have not confirmed the date with Mr. Bertels as of yet.
Thank you, Mayor Ireland. And through you, my last question is related to the auditors. There will be an opportunity for council to meet with the auditors at some point. Will that be prior to the issuing of financial statements?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Melnick. Yes, so they are completed, then they are presented to council. And that will be done just prior to when they are submitted to the province.
Thank you, Director Malinchak. Appreciate the answers to the questions, and thank you, Mayor Ireland. I am now done.
Thank you, Councillor Melnick. Councillor Conscrud.
Hi, guys. Through you, Mayor Ireland, to Ms. Malinchak. I'm not too sure if this is time to ask this. It's not really pertaining to your report, but keep coming down to this question, and I don't know where to find it out, and I'm sure you'd be willing to get it to me or to us, and if not, then that's fine. But I'd like to just, as far as the reserves go, doing some reading, I'd like to know what the present day balance is on the financial stabilization reserve, the utility operating reserve, utility capital reserve, public transit and parking reserve, fixed asset reserve, and annual general capital reserve. I hope this is the time to ask for that. And yeah, I would just clear it up for me. There probably is another way to find it, but I don't know how. Thank you.
Your Worship, through to Councillor Conscrud. Yes, no problem. That does come to council as part of the financial reporting. It will be presented to council. You can find it in the financial statements for the last 2024 year end, but obviously there's transfers in as well as transfers out during the 2025 year. So that report will be given to council, and that will be coming shortly.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any other questions for Director Malinchak? Councillor Hall.
Thank you very much, Mayor Ireland. I have two questions. One about budget. When do directors, and it's probably already happening, but when do directors start working on budget 2027?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Hall. This process is always occurring and always at the forefront of our minds, but the actual start date of putting things together on, well, I'd say paper, but in the computer system and getting information back and forth will start as early as June this year. I'll be starting the process a little bit earlier this year just due to us catching up a little bit from the wildfire and being ahead of where we were last year. So, and with the new council, we'll be putting through just a little bit of extra work based on the new priorities set by council when those come out. So, I'd say early June is when we'll start the process formally.
Thank you for that. And I ask because I did ask a question during budget deliberations in the fall around how much of the increase relates to things we have no control over, like staff increases, staff wage increases, our union agreement, that kind of thing, and then how much is just extras. And I asked the question if council was to make a motion that next year's budget doesn't go over 5%, if that would be an impossible ask, or if that would be something that could be possible. So I just wonder if that might be another conversation we have this week as we work on our priorities. So thank you for that information. My other question is about business licensing. When do business licenses run? Is it like a January 1st to January 1st timeline?
Your Worship, through to Councillor Hall, no, they follow because of how things went with the transition of Parks Canada through to the municipality. It actually follows their fiscal year, never changed for some reason. So those dates rolled over to us for how we implement them. There is a chance that we'll be looking at that date differently this year. However, that's still in discussion. At this point, it's still the same due date as it has been in the prior years.
Thank you for that. And what is that date? I feel like it's May or June or
April 31st.
And thank you for that. And again, I feel like this could be a conversation we have this week, but if we were to make some changes to business licensing, how much time would we have to give the business community as far as knowledge of that?
Sorry, Your Worship, Councillor Hall, can you repeat that question?
Yeah, my question is, if we were to change business licensing fees, how much notice would we have to give the business community?
Thank you for the question. I would have to look that up if there's anything stated within the Municipal Government Act on a timeline on that. I would say at least 30 days. And obviously we would try to give more if possible, but I would have to see if there's anything specific that's written up in that regard. So I'm not sure.
And thank you for that, Director Melanchuk. And I think that Mr. Given can speak to that, and perhaps the earlier question as well about beginning budget preparations for 2027. I saw his hand up earlier. So Mr. Given, go ahead.
Thanks, Mayor Ireland. So for Councillor Hall, first on maybe I'll take them in reverse order while it's still fresh on business licensing. I may have referenced before that as a result of the fire, we're re-examining our business licensing system. It's obviously the context has changed a fair bit with all the new contractors coming into town. And so there's a cross-departmental effort to look at the entire approach to business licensing, really from the fundamental of why do we do it and what are we hoping to achieve. So that work is underway right now. We have discussed whether it might be worthwhile to delay the renewal period. So that's kind of under active discussion. And so administration's already looking at business licensing bylaw, and there's a project underway to look at that. If council wants to change any rates or fees, you have full latitude to do whatever you want, whenever you want. You just need to make a motion at a council meeting and amend a bylaw, which may require some readings to do. So the business license bylaw has the fee schedule attached to it, and so you'd need to amend that bylaw, which may require a couple of readings. But there's no legislative impediment to council changing rates whenever you want. There's maybe good practical reasons why you might want to provide notice to people if rates are going to be changing in any material or sort of structural way. So no, there's no limit to in terms of timelines about when council could change rates. I think Director Malinchuk's just reflecting that typical municipal practice would be to provide at least some modest amount of notice so people could prepare for that. And then the earlier question around when does the budget start to get developed? Director Malinchuk, has really the pointy end of the budget of assembling and making sure all the numbers work and entering them in the systems. But we're actually looking to try to improve our business planning through the course of this year. And so that cycle really does start with council's strategic plan, because council says what's important and the direction that you want to take the organization over the course of the next 4 years and into the future. Administration waits really eagerly to see what that says and to see if it tells us that there are any new directions that we need to be prepared for, that we need to adjust to. After council finalizes its strategic priorities, then administration across all the different departments takes those priorities and tries to assess what that means for municipal services and how we might respond. And then we build a plan to respond to that at the service area level, which gets rolled up to the departments. And then the departments provide that into Director Malinchuk, who assembles that for the entire municipality. So that work will start as soon as council has formalized its strategic priorities. So we're going away this week to start that work. Obviously, council will come back at some point and adopt those formally at a council meeting. But once that's adopted formally, then that gives administration the go-ahead to say, okay, now that you know where we want to go, administration, take those and build a plan around it. And so you can see how doing that as early as possible in the year gives administration more opportunity to respond through the business planning process, which ultimately influences the budget. And if there's additional direction coming around budget constraints or direction out of strategic priorities, that's helpful to us as well.
Thank you, Mr. Given. Councillor Hall, did you have another follow-up?
Just one more follow-up. Thank you for that answer. Another question around budget. Is there a plan to go back to the priority-based budgeting process we had started, I think, in 2022? Maybe did it for a year, but then obviously with the fire, it just fell to the wayside. But I'm curious if there's a plan to go back to that format.
Yes, absolutely.
In the absence of other hands indicating questions for Director Malinchuk, I have a couple of questions and a comment. Firstly, your report indicated penalties for late payments as of January 1st, and also referenced arrears sent for arrears from 2024 and previous. And just in global amounts and without identifying any particular taxpayer, is this a change from what has been the historical record for us, and are the amounts of significance to council in your view?
Your worship, no, we're following the same process as we have in the past for tax and arrears. And as indicated, 13 letters were sent out, and those were, multiple years of taxes that are outstanding in those accounts. Over the years, we're looking at about $920,000 of arrears. 500,000 of that is in 2025. 204,000 of that is in 2024. 200,000 is of 2023. And in years prior to that is 28,000.
Thank you very much for that. You also indicated in your report that you've received a second advance from HARP of $5 million approximately. Could you just remind us what the first advance total was?
Oh dear. I believe it was just over 27 million. But that I hate throwing out numbers. I like looking at them up. But I believe that's what's in my mind at the moment.
All right, thank you very much. I asked just because I noticed in your report that you've reconciled now approximately $30 million in expenses, and that is a significant amount of work that you and your team have had to undertake directly as a result of the fire. But I think that it is probably less than half of the amount that will still have to be reconciled. I take it that reflects amounts that we will be claiming under now the HARP program. So we were thinking at one point like $76 million. Is that the 30 million that you're talking about having reconciled, half of that amount?
Your Worship, sorry, I just had my staff actually look up the exact amount. My number was incorrect. The first deposit to us was actually 36,570,000. So I had a wrong digit in there. And yes, so we have just reconciled the 30 million to date, and I don't know if I can fully answer the last question that you posed on the amount that we have, the 70-some thousand million that you've alluded to.
All right,
Just
that's
because
fine.
of
Thank you.
things changing over the years and whatnot.
Thank you for that. The last thing I have is simply a comment. You've indicated that assessment notices have been mailed out last week, so they will be received probably during this week. You've indicated that the assessor will be available for booked meetings with ratepayers April 9th. And it just occurs to me, with the angst in the community over assessments generally and how the fire and the rebuild is going to affect assessments, that a total of 4 hours set aside to meet with residents might be insufficient. I would expect that this would be a year that there will be increased sensitivity to assessment. So I just leave that out there. But 2 2-hour sessions on one day might get fully booked, and you know, I think it would be unfortunate if residents who are a little later to request were denied an opportunity, because I think it will be a very topical discussion.
Your Worship, if I might comment on that, we can take note for sure, and if we're finding that day busy, I'm sure that Mr. Birtles might be able to schedule another. However, last year there was no attendees.
All right, well, thank you. I may well stand corrected, but I hear lots on the street about assessments
Okay, thank you.
this year. If there are no other questions for Director Malinchuk, I would look for a motion that Council receive the report for information. Councillor Hall, thank you. All those in favor? There are none opposed. That is carried. Thank you, Director Malinchuk. That takes us to agenda item 6.3, asset management policy. That is before us, I think, by way of recommendation from Committee of the Whole from a week ago. But we have staff here all set to speak to it, so I will turn it over. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the opportunity to speak here today. I'm really excited to be at this point with our asset management journey. It's been a long way long time coming, years and years. I think we've got a really good policy in place. And Vari, do you want to give a little summary on that policy?
Good morning, and thank you, Council. We had a session, an information session last week. So today, if I may, I just give you a short summary, and then any questions are welcome. So the asset management policy establishes a governance framework for how the municipality of Jasper plans, manages, and oversees its municipal assets over their life cycle. The policy clarifies roles and responsibilities, promotes consistent decision-making across departments, and provides direction on how asset information is used to support operational, capital, and strategic planning. The policy does not introduce new programs, services, or financial commitments. Instead, it formalizes existing practices and supports responsible financial stewardship by encouraging life cycle-based planning, informed prioritization, and long-term sustainability of municipal infrastructures and assets. Approval of this policy provides a clear foundation to support transparent, coordinated, and accountable asset management in alignment with Council's strategic priorities. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any questions or comments from councillors? At the risk then of going over old ground, and I apologize, I missed last week's presentation, and I'm impressed with the document in whole, and thank you for that. I did have one suggestion, that the policy statement itself, so Article 1 of the policy, I thought could be punchier and more reflective of a policy by reversing the two paragraphs and starting with the second one and putting the commitment first. So the municipality of Jasper is committed to, and then the rest of it, responsible stewardship of municipal infrastructure all the way to the end of that. But the policy is that we're committed to something, not that the policy reflects a different commitment. I think the policy should state the commitment as a first thing, and then for the second paragraph, just say, and shall implement a coordinated and strategic approach. So my suggestion is reverse the two paragraphs and start with the commitment. The MOJ is committed to this. It just seems to me it's a stronger statement of policy and leaves no room for doubt about our commitment to proper asset management. So simply a suggestion, but I will wait to hear from councillors, but I'm happy to make a motion to amend in that fashion, and I can provide my thoughts on the wording if it's not clear. I leave that more for councillors, and it's just stylistic more than anything, but I think a stronger reflection of a commitment to asset management. Councillor Hall.
Thank you very much, Mayor Ireland, and thank you for the presentation. I also missed last week's meeting, but I did listen. And my question is, I guess to either of you or Mr. Hutton, how long has the operations department been working on creating this policy?
The concept of the policy has been in play for a number of years. It's just been the past 6 months where we've actually formulated the final document and put it together with the work of Vari, our asset coordinator, and our asset committee working together to put this together.
Thank you for that. At the Alberta Municipality Conference in November, I attended a session focused on how municipalities can strengthen decision-making by adopting a true asset management mindset. And I did share my notes with the rest of council. That would have been in November. So this is really good timing, and I'm really happy to see this policy in front of us.
Councillor Melnick.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to make the motion to amend the policy reflecting your comments where we reverse the two paragraphs stating, of course, our intention that we are committed to responsible stewardship of our assets. And I'm happy to make that motion.
Thank you for that. Councillor Melnick, and is the motion clear enough to administration? Okay, I'm getting nods for that. All right, any comments, debate from councillors? I'll call the question. All those in favor? There are none opposed. That is carried. Thank you very much. Councillor Melnick.
With that, I would like to also make the motion that we approve the amended asset management policy as, recommend the council approve the asset management policy as amended.
Thank you for that motion, Councillor Melnick. And seeing no hands for debate, I will call the question. All those in favor? There are none opposed. That is carried. Thank you both very much for your presentation last week and again today. That takes us to agenda item 6.4. We are nearing the end, but if there was to be a break, this might be an opportune time. I'm seeing a couple of nods. So as presenters are getting prepared, it is, we'll say, just past 10:35. We will break till 10:45. I would call recess until that time. Right, it is 10:46. We are back in session and we are on agenda item 6.4, adoption of the Jasper Offsite Levies Bylaw 2026. Again, this matter is before us by way of recommendation from Committee of the Whole from a week ago, to give this matter first reading and then to set the date, time, and location of public hearings with respect to the bylaw. Does any councillor have any outstanding questions with respect to the bylaw before somebody makes a motion for first reading? Councillor Hall.
Thank you very much, Mayor Ireland. No outstanding questions, but just want to share sentiment I am hearing in the community, and I do support an offsite levy update. What I am hearing is that residents who lost their homes are racing to get permits in before this change happens, and it just feels a bit inequitable that those who were able to get through their insurance process or had mental capacity to get through the first year and a half after the fire are able to, I guess, take advantage of the old rates as opposed to the new rates. I'm happy to move this forward because I know there will be a public hearing about it, but I just wanted to, get that out there. I had a coffee chat on Saturday that Councillor Waxer joined me, and that was all that was talked about, is just this inequity that seems to be happening from this. But again, I am happy to move this forward because I do know there'll be a public hearing about it, and I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Thank you for that. Councillor Hall, anything else from anyone? I'm sorry, Councillor Roger, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Ireland. I've heard a little bit as well about this sort of race to the deadline, and I'm just wondering what other towns do about that. I mean, is it something where a date can be perhaps fixed in the past and everything after that date, so there's no racing like this? Is this something that comes up other places?
Director Sanders.
Yes, through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Roger. Councillor, council has the ability to set an effective date. And you can address this. The other comment I'll make about this particular question is just for clarity again, to make sure that everyone understands that if it's a like for like rebuild, offsite levies do not apply. So if there's a little bit of fluster and comment in the community, that would be the first question I would ask someone is, are you planning to rebuild exactly what you had in terms of number of dwelling units? Because if the answer is yes, this does not apply. And then perhaps that would help settle things down. Where it will apply is if somebody is adding a new unit, and then it is the same across the entire town. And yes, council can set an effective date. And then the trade-off that you'll need to wrestle with is if we're not collecting those fees, then the cost of the additional infrastructure is going to be on future taxpayers. And that will be borne by the whole community rather than just the net new development. So that's part of what you will wrestle with after a public hearing, should you choose to proceed with the bylaw.
And just as a clarity, if you're building a bigger unit, like a bigger house, does the offsite levy apply, or are they consider a house for a house?
Mayor Ireland, through you to Councillor Roger, under the proposed bylaw, an expansion of the size of a dwelling unit would not incur an offsite levy.
Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mayor Ireland. Thank you for that clarification, because that is actually a very good point.
Councillor Melnick.
Thank you, Your Worship. And further to the point made by Director Sanders, I think last week, for the benefit of those who weren't here, if you're adding an ancillary dwelling unit and you're requesting the $30,000 grant through the housing program, that additional cost of the offsite levy can be claimed against that $30,000. So there are ways for residents to offset those additional fees by the grant system that we have in place. And Director Sanders, I am correct?
Yes, you are.
Thank you for that. Other questions? Deputy Mayor Waxer.
Thank you, Mayor Ireland. And I think in our conversation on Saturday, we did discuss that this isn't just a fee, this is a distribution of cost. And so even if you avoid paying the fee, you will pay in a portion of the cost and as will your neighbor and everybody else in the community. So I think it isn't a brand new fee that people that no one expected. It's just the distribution of the cost.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Waxer. If there are no other questions, I would look for a motion to give first reading to the Offsite Levies Bylaw 2026. Councillor Hall.
Thank you, Mayor Ireland. I would make the motion that Council give first reading to the Jasper Offsite Levies Bylaw 2026 as presented, and that Council set the date, time, and location of the public hearing for March 17th, 2026 at 1:30 p.m. in the quorum room.
Thank you for that. The motion is out there. I would just remind councillors that a request for division is always in order. If anybody wants to split those questions, we hadn't talked yet at this meeting about date, time, and location. I will say that with respect to that part of the motion, I have an out-of-town medical appointment on March 17th, so I will not be able to attend. the deputy mayor, who will be Councillor Frechette at that time, I'm sure can conduct a public hearing, and we'll have assistance from administration to do that. But I cannot be present for it, and if you miss a public hearing, you cannot vote. So I recognize that that is the way things are, but it's shaping up that I will not be here on the 17th, but I'm not asking for council to readjust for my convenience. Councillor Hall?
Thank you, Mayor Island. We could though, like, is this the only date that works, or could there be another date? Like, it is a very important hearing, and I think it would be beneficial if we were all here.
Any other date is not a date when I have an out-of-town medical appointment, except the first date in March is going to be problematic as well. But perhaps the question is better directed to Director Sanders about timing generally for this.
Yes, Your Worship, April 7th is the following council meeting, so that would be an option for you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Hall.
Thank you, and I appreciate you allowing me to ask questions while there's a motion on the floor. But is April 7th too late? Does that still work, and does that work for everybody?
Your Worship, I can't speak if it works for everyone, but it does work for administration, and it's just a matter of determining when you wish to hold a hearing and how it works for your schedules.
Councillor Melnick, I will recognize you to speak. I was just going to suggest on my own behalf a division of the question. We'll get first reading done, and then we can deal with this other matter if we choose to, if you're fine with that. Councillor Melnick.
Thank you, Your Worship. So in order to deal with that, I would request that we separate the two so that we can deal with the first reading, and then we can discuss the setting the date and time.
Thank you. So on that request, we will divide the question, and I will call the first part of the question, and that is that council give first reading to the Jasper Offsite Levies Bylaw 2026 as presented. Is there any debate on that motion? I'll call the question. All those in favor? I think that was a hand up, yes. Councillor Frechette? Yep. There are none opposed. That is carried. So we have first reading, and now we can deal with the second part of the original motion, that is the time, date, and location. And again, if somebody wanted to make a friendly amendment to the motion that's before us to change the 17th of March to the 7th of April. Councillor Roger?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'll make that amendment, change from the March 17th to April 7th, 2026.
Okay. And that's accepted, Councillor Hall, as a friendly amendment?
Yes, thank you.
All right. So the second part of the motion then before us is that council set the date, time, and location of the public hearing for April 7th, 2026 at 1:30 p.m. in the quorum room. Any further debate on that, Councillor Deputy Mayor Waxer?
Not debate, just to indicate that it's quite likely that I will not be able to attend the 7th, but I'm okay with that.
Councillor Melnick.
Thank you, Your Worship. And Councillor Waxer opened the door for me to say exactly the same thing. I will not be able to attend that meeting on the 7th of April.
Okay. Well, maybe we go back to the 17th of March. I mean, it is at the will of council. Could it be, is there any reason that it could not be on a date of a committee of the whole meeting, say the 24th of March? Mr. Given?
Mayor Ireland, so council can identify date, time, and location sort of as you see fit. What you would be doing is establishing a special regular council meeting. So it can't happen at committee. It can only happen in a meeting of council. And so you'd need to have a special council meeting for the purposes of the public hearing. So, I mean, that's possible, but it can't happen at committee. It can happen on the same day, but it would technically be a different meeting.
All right. Any other comments? I appreciate the move to accommodate my schedule, but if that eliminates two others, that hardly seems like a proper course. So if we go back to March 17th, and who knows, the medical world cancels appointments in any event sometimes, so it may not happen. Did I see your hand up, Councillor Melnick?
Thank you, Your Worship. Further to Mr. Given's suggestion, we could actually have this meeting on the 24th of March, where maybe more councillors would be able to be in attendance. We have a committee of the whole that morning, and we would then have the public hearing as a special meeting that afternoon. Is that what I believe I heard is possible? If we so choose at this point, it gives a notice to the public. It allows us to plan for that meeting, and hopefully we'll have a majority or all of council available.
Well, let's just find out whether we will. Councillor Hall.
Thank you very much, Mayor Ireland. I will be on the road on the 24th, but can I zoom in to a hearing? Is that allowed? Okay, then that will work for me.
Councillor Roger.
It's off topic slightly, but I'm still not certain as to the date that this comes into effect. And how does that work? I mean, in the document, you've got a March 1st date, but if this was going to be changed after a public hearing, we just amend the date? Okay, thank you.
All right, I think we are now at a position where March 24th, special meeting for 1:30 seems to be in the offing. We have a motion before us, which was amended by way of friendly amendment, so it's just the motion. In the absence of any objection, I'm just going to suggest that rather than complicate the matter, Councillor Hall withdraws that motion without any objection and then can make a fresh motion with a different date. Is that?
Yes, thank you.
All right, so that motion is withdrawn without objection, and I would look for another motion from someone to suggest both that we set the time, date, and location of the hearing to 1:30 p.m. In the quorum room on March 24th, and that we hold a special meeting at that time and place to conduct the public hearing. Councillor Hall, your motion?
Thank you. I'll make that motion.
Clear enough to administration? You've got it. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor? There are none opposed. That is carried. And so that special meeting will have one agenda item, which is the public hearing. All right, that takes us to agenda item 7, notices of motion, of which we have none. Councillor reports, agenda number item 8. Do we have reports from councillors? Councillor Frechette.
Thank you, Mayor Ireland. just one report that I had a preliminary meeting with my Community in Bloom group on the 9th of February. It was basically a meet and greet and to work on a mission statement, which we will formalize on our next meeting on the 26th of February. Looks like a good committee, and we're looking forward to get up and running as soon as we can in the spring. That's all I have.
Thank you for that. Councillor Hall?
Thank you, Mayor Ireland. Last week, Councillor Kongsrud, Mayor Ireland, and myself attended the TIA, Tourism Industry Association Alberta Conference. It was really encouraging to see so many Jasper organizations represented in Edmonton, including the Chamber of Commerce, Tourism Jasper, our municipal delegation, and Parks Canada, Geneviève Caron. We attended because we understand how critical tourism is to Jasper's sustainability, and we were all there to support the same goal, which is strengthening Jasper's visitor economy. And I really believe that collaboration works best when we're all recognized as part of the team. And it was a really good conference, lots of networking, and we learned a lot.
Thank you for that, Councillor Hall. Councillor Roger?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Ireland. Last week on February 11th, there was a meeting sponsored by the Chamber of Commerce that myself and several other councillors attended. And the one thing I remember from the meeting that was important, I think, is that the Superintendent Caron, advised that they are working to clear an area she described as 2.5 kilometers all around the town to fireproof it. She indicated at the meeting that there was going to be 100 more hectares cleared out, which I did a little math, and the amount of hectares in 2.5 kilometers is more like 19 hectares, 1,900 hectares. But the answer was that, of course, they'll do it only the stuff that needs to come out. So obviously there's rivers and roads, and she described there's some stands of trees that don't have to come out. So it appears that Parks is working as we wish to perhaps prevent reoccurrence of the fire. And that's the first news that I'd really heard about that, so I was glad to hear that.
Thank you, Councillor Roger. Any other reports? Councillor Melnick?
Thank you, Your Worship. I had an opportunity to be on a Zoom meeting with the town's portion of Alberta Munis. In the discussions, there was funding. We had a discussion regarding funding infrastructure for housing in the province, as well funding for FCSS and funding for other preventative programs, as well as talking about the police funding model here in the province. So it was a very good opportunity to meet with, I believe, about 40 other towns in that virtual meeting.
Thank you, Councillor Melnick. Deputy Mayor Waxer?
Yes, I too attended the chamber event with Ron Holman as the primary speaker, and found it very informative. And I also attended the community conversation for children and youth on behalf of Councillor Frechette, and a very robust conversation and very well attended. And later that day, I also attended the Evergreens Foundation budget review meeting.
Thank you for that. Having missed the committee of the whole, others may have reported at that time on February 10th, but I attended the economic development workshop given to council on February 5th. As you heard from Councillor Hall, Councillor Consgrud and I joined her in attending the Tourism Industry Association of Alberta Summit in Edmonton on February 8th, 9th, and 10th. And I too want to extend thanks to Tourism Jasper for collecting all of the Jasper delegates from the municipality, from Tourism Jasper, from the Chamber of Commerce, from Parks Canada, and individual business owners to get together for one session where we could all connect. It was a great opportunity. And it showed the unity of all the organizations toward our primary, in fact, our essential industry here. I too attended the breakfast with Ron Holman, his last official engagement in Jasper as he's heading into retirement next month. It was a worthwhile attendance at that breakfast, and then I also had an opportunity to have lunch with him that day. And on February 12th, I had a meeting with the Jasper Park Chamber of Commerce Executive Director. Both he and I missed, of course, the Committee of the Whole meeting on February 10th because we were in Edmonton for the Tourism Summit. Mr. Butler expressed real support for the tax policy that is now making its way forward. And we agreed that process is the first area of alignment that we're looking for to make sure that those groups that need to be at the table are given opportunities to be at the table as we go through that, groups and individuals. So that was useful. There was some concern about not rushing it. I have spoken to Mr. Given, and I think he confirmed that as a result of discussions February 10th at Committee of the Whole, there is not an expectation that Council wants to get through this rapidly, but rather to take the time to do it right. And so there is not an expectation that administration will be back with a document before this tax year and the tax bills go out, which is what I had understood, but I wanted to be able to offer that assurance to other members of the community that this is not something that we intend to rush through, but to get it right and have a policy for the long term. And Mr. Given, can you confirm that that is your understanding?
Yes, Mayor, that's correct. At the last meeting, we had a discussion about timelines. There was a desire to help leverage the assessment notices and tax notices to help get the word out about the policy development and encourage people to participate. And I think at that time we talked about a timeline of coming back to council in June or July of this year. So, in time to inform future choices the municipality might make, and really seeing this as a longer term project rather than sort of a one and done project. But council definitely wanted to encourage as much participation as possible. And so that's the timeline that we discussed at Committee of the Whole.
Thank you very much for that, CAO Given. All right, that concludes my report. I think everybody else has reported that wishes to report. Takes us to agenda item number 9, upcoming events. NETMA tomorrow evening, although council will miss that, and a deadline for nominations for the Mayor's Recognitions Award is March 1st for those members of the community wishing to nominate someone. Is there anything else to bring to the attention of council? Councillor Hall?
Thank you very much, Mayor Ireland. Tomorrow from 10 a.m. till 7 p.m. in the Curling Lounge, Options HIV West Yellowhead out of Hinton is going to be having a showcase, learning about the program's education and resources they have to offer. It's unfortunate that we're all going to be away, but I definitely wanted to get this on the agenda and let the public know that this is happening tomorrow, Wednesday the 18th from 10 a.m. till 7 p.m.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. If there is nothing else by way of upcoming events, we can turn to agenda item 10, and I would look for a motion for adjournment at 11:13 a.m. Councillor Frechette wishes to make that motion. All those in favor? There are none opposed. That is carried. We are adjourned, and thank you, administration, for this new technology. We appeared not to have bungled it too badly. It is great. It's a real asset. So thank you all very much.